I am conflicted about where to go from here. My mom's boyfriend has made me feel uncomfortable, and I can't trust him. Where do I go from here? I recently moved out of my mom's house, where I had my youngest, while living there. My mom had a boyfriend she had been with for a little less time than I have been with my husband. I never really liked my mom's boyfriend, but accepted him. In the beginning, he was really socially awkward at holidays and couldn't really have a normal conversation with anyone. He would show up behind us while we were having conversations and not say anything or just try to join in. I started feeling bad for not really liking him just for being awkward, but I still always had a gut feeling that he was just weird. I have a sister a few years younger than me, and she had similar feelings as well as a few extended family members. Throughout the years, things never changed much. I asked for him not to go to the hospital when I had my first son, but he ended up being there. I also didn't want him at my wedding, but I felt reluctant since all the other parents were bringing their significant others. A few years later, when I had my second son, things changed a bit. I breastfed my son, but I was never comfortable not being covered or would go to another room, depending on who was around. This happened close to 2 years ago, so my memory is not the best. After multiple invites, my family and I finally accepted an invitation to hang out at his house with my mom and him. Things were going fine, and I was trying to give him a chance. I needed to feed my youngest and chose to go to the side of the backyard at a bar stool facing away from everyone else. The next thing I noticed was my mom's boyfriend coming from around the bar to stand face to face with me. Feeling awkward and uncomfortable, I completely turned my chair to face away again. There was really no reason for him to be at the bar. We were all just talking outside while my mom and oldest were in the jacuzzi. After turning my chair to face the backyard, he walked away from the bar, but I turned again to face the bar and away from everyone else, and he somehow decided to stand directly behind me, where I felt he could look over me. After that, I packed up, got my family, and just left unexpectedly, making some excuse to leave. I only told my husband, and we decided to keep our distance. The next instance that bothered me was when our family was planning a surprise party for my sister at my dad's house. Everyone was there decorating and setting up. Twice that day, he walked by me, and I felt his hand swipe past my backside. Any person would apologize or at least acknowledge the accident. But it happened twice that day, which I didn't feel was an accident. I was just done feeling uncomfortable with these accidents. I ended up telling my husband, and he was mad. I ended up telling my mom, who seemed surprised but didn't know how to process it. Long story short, they broke up afterward. My mom swears it wasn't my issue, which I was worried about. He's a narcissist who fights with every situation because he's never the problem. We recently moved out, and now they are back together. So now my mom wants to bring him back around for holidays, family gatherings, and all events. The issue now is that I don't want my kids around him. I don't want to keep my mom away from my kids, but I just don't trust him. An example of how dishonest he can be. My mom found Cheerios on the floor and told him to clean up next time since he ate some the night before. He swore it wasn't him and blamed it on my son. It was so bad that my mom actually ate the Cheerios because at the time my son was eating apple cinnamon ones and he had plain, and she told him that, and he still couldn't admit it. After the fallout, he told her he wanted to talk it out, but if he can't admit to Cheerios on the floor, I don't trust anything he could say. There have been other weird things, but everything is behind a disguise of playing dumb. We've gone camping where he said something inappropriate to my sister, and my husband and I saw him looking at her inappropriately. But I haven't told my mom that because it's been so long now, and it seems pointless at this point. My mom is now coming to me to resolve this, but I don't know where to even go from here. During our conversation, she even gave me his excuses, like they thought I felt comfortable breastfeeding around them. My mom, yes, men know. She even said he didn't know I was feeding, but then how did they think I was comfortable? It just seems like time has passed, so now it's not even an issue, and I should just move on. I want my mom to be happy, but how do I move on from this? How do I handle the holidays? Should I just have my own? Should I just suck it up? Do I try it again, since obviously he's going to be around? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Listen to your gut. I would tell your mom about every instance that happened where you did not feel comfortable around him. Encourage your sister to do the same, and any other family members who he has made uncomfortable. If possible, present a united front. Then plainly tell her that you, or you all, simply do not feel comfortable with him around, not around you or your kids. Make it clear that while she is welcome, he is not, and you will not spend any holidays with him present. Period. Comment 2. Mom, you are welcome in my life, but he is not. I refuse to spend any more time with him. If you lose your mother because she chooses not to attend without him, that is the cost of setting this boundary. It's okay to stay firm. It's okay not to give him any more chances. Ignoring your gut will lead to someone getting hurt further by him. He has already touched you inappropriately. You know that's a fact. I'm so sorry. Be kind to yourself. Now for the update. 2 days after that last family gathering, I got this text from my mom. She's planning a Christmas dinner. I mean, I guess that's good. But then I saw that the mom's boyfriend is going to be there too. My stomach dropped and I just felt really uneasy. So I had to talk to my husband about it. No way we're taking our kids around that guy. We started talking about how we really need to protect our kids. I know they're not old enough to understand what's going on, but they are old enough to get that something's off. I still remember how uncomfortable I felt at the last family event. I was just trying to enjoy some time with family, and this dude had to make it all awkward. I had my youngest on my lap, just being a typical toddler, and this guy stood way too close. Like, close enough to smell my shampoo. Not that he should be that close anyway, but you know what I mean? It was just weird. I couldn't shake that feeling, so I decided to reach out to my sister. I thought maybe she'd notice something about him. I mean, we all hang out together, so I figured she could help me keep an eye on him. So I texted my sister, and she was surprised. She said she hadn't noticed anything weird about him, which made me kind of uneasy. I went ahead and told her about the stuff that's happened. I mean, she needed to know. I told her about the Christmas party and how he brushed past me not once but twice, like it was no big deal. I told her about how he stood too close while I was breastfeeding. I told her about how he kept trying to engage with the kids and that I was just worried he'd take it too far. She seemed skeptical but agreed to keep an eye on things. Not exactly the reassurance I was hoping for, but it was something. Fast forward to the day of the Christmas dinner. I had the kids all dressed up and ready to go. I took a minute to remind them about their boundaries and told them to stay close to us. The whole ride over, I was just super nervous. We got there, and right away I saw my mom. She was so excited to see us, totally oblivious to the fact that I was about to have a panic attack. Then the boyfriend came over. He was all smiles and hugs for the kids, which made me even more uneasy. I just wanted to scream, "You're not safe." Dinner was served, and the atmosphere was cheerful, but I was still on edge. I mean, how could anyone be relaxed with that guy around? He kept making these jokes, trying to engage with the kids. I was just waiting for something to happen. At one point, he leaned over to tickle my youngest. They laughed, but looked uncomfortable. I just couldn't take it anymore. I stepped in and told him to back off. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. My mom looked shocked and asked what was wrong. I could feel the tension rising. The boyfriend just brushed it off, acting like he was just being friendly. I told him the kids need space, which made my mom defensive. After dinner, the kids went to play in the living room while the adults cleaned up. I was still on high alert, watching the boyfriend closely. My sister pulled me aside and suggested we leave if things felt too uncomfortable. I was grateful for the support. After some time, the kids came to me, saying they wanted to go home. I agreed and decided to tell my mom we were leaving early. She begged us to stay, saying the boyfriend had changed. I was so overhearing that. The boyfriend overheard and jumped in, saying he's just misunderstood. I felt like I was cornered. I just wanted to get my kids out of there. So I gathered them and headed for the door. As we left, the kids waved goodbye to their grandma and the boyfriend like it was no big deal. I watched them, feeling a mix of relief and frustration. Outside, my husband asked how it went. I just shook my head and told him about the tension. I was so exhausted. A week later, I got a call from my mom asking to meet for coffee. I wasn't exactly thrilled about it, but I agreed. At the coffee shop, she looked sad. She told me how upset she was about us leaving early. Then she said the boyfriend promised to change and wanted to make amends. I couldn't believe it. The mom then suggested a family outing to a local fair, wanting everyone to be together. I agreed to come, but made it clear that the boyfriend shouldn't be there. She reluctantly agreed, but looked disappointed. A few days later, I found out she invited the boyfriend to the fair anyway. I just couldn't do it. I decided not to attend and informed my mom of my decision. She was upset but accepted it. So here we are now. It's been another week. I thought maybe things would get better, but nope. My mom's been giving me the cold shoulder since the fair incident, and honestly, I don't feel too bad about it. I just don't know how to talk to her about this guy anymore. I tried to get my sister on board, but she's not seeing the red flags either. It's like I'm the only one who's bothered by him. I feel like I'm fighting this battle alone. It sucks. I just want to protect my kids. I want my mom to be on my side, you know? I don't even care if that means losing her, but I can't shake this feeling that something's off. I just hope I'm wrong about him. I really do. If anything happens with this guy, though, you can bet I'm going to be updating you guys. Mini update. The narrator later learned that their sister had noticed the boyfriend's inappropriate behavior, particularly his attempts to engage too closely with the children. After discussing the situation with her, their sister decided to limit the children's interactions with him. Although she hadn't initially taken the narrator's concerns seriously, the sister's observations changed her perspective. The narrator feels relieved to have her sister's support and is more comfortable knowing that they are watching out for their kids together. Am I the idiot for refusing to let my husband's disrespectful family walk all over me? A little backstory on why this is. Since my husband and I first started dating, there have always been disrespectful comments from his stepfather to me. For instance, I am Mexican, and he will say discriminatory things about Mexicans in front of me. When I got pregnant with our daughter, I realized a shift in the relationship I had with my mother-in-law. There were always boundaries being overstepped. She was very adamant about being in the room when I gave birth, which I was not comfortable with. It did not happen as infection 19 was high, and no one was allowed in the room, not even my own mother, only the father. When I gave birth, I received comments from my father-in-law about my weight gain. When my husband and I were planning our wedding, they were trying to push for my husband to have certain cuisines because there were people in his family who did not eat what we were serving. I explained to them that they weren't the ones paying for it, and they didn't get to make decisions about what we serve. We also took a trip to an amusement park, and I told my father-in-law that I wasn't comfortable with him putting hot coffee at the bottom of my child's stroller, as it would fall and mess up everything in her diaper bag. He yelled at me, cursing me out and calling me every name in the book. My mother-in-law wouldn't respect what I was telling her regarding our daughter. When she would have her, I would tell her that we do certain things, or she couldn't have certain things. Or if she needed a bath night because we didn't get to give one to her before she picked her up. And those requests were always disregarded. She would tell us that she raised her own kids and she knows what to do. But it's about the respect of how I want to raise my child. My mother-in-law and father-in-law had become really disrespectful to us this last time. And this is where I finally drew my boundaries. It was because our daughter was sick, so we weren't able to go over to their house for dinner. My husband told them this, and they started cursing him and me out on the phone. There was a lot that went on after that day that I'm not going to get into detail about, but just know that phone calls were made that were very disrespectful, and text messages were sent. My mother-in-law was trying to get me and my husband to turn against each other, which did not work. At that moment, I told my husband I was cutting myself off from contact with them and that he could still have his relationship because they are his parents, but I did not want to be involved with that toxic behavior anymore. To the present, my in-laws had a family gathering today, which my husband was very insistent I attend. He was pushing for me to go all day, and I told him no. I have my boundaries, and I will not subject myself to people who are disrespectful to me and lower myself for them. And he's more than welcome to go himself. He's making it seem that I don't love him and that I'm not choosing him because I did not want to go, and he did not want to go alone. At this point, I just don't know what to do. I don't know if this is going to affect our marriage or what is going to happen, and I just need some advice on how to handle this. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He's bleeding because he doesn't want to go alone to his own family's house? I don't know how you've put up with such a spineless individual for so long. If I were in your position and my partner didn't shut down the vitriol immediately, I would have been headed out the door. He needs a serious wake-up call, either from you or a therapist, preferably both. This dynamic cannot continue. You should not have to ever put up with hurtful language again. Comment 2. Tell your husband, I refuse to deal with your rude, obnoxious parents. You have had ample opportunities to step up and tell them to be respectful to me. And what really hurts my feelings is that not only have you never stood up for me, but here you are being awful to me because I'm finally standing up for myself. I don't deal with people who are disrespectful to me. And if you keep this up, that will include you. Now for the update. Sheesh, where do I even start? So, 2 days after my last update, my husband comes home from work, looking like he just lost a fight with a lawnmower. He tells me there's a family dinner planned for the upcoming weekend at his parents' place. I had to remind him of our recent argument about boundaries with his family, because apparently he's got amnesia now. Anyway, he insists it's super important for our daughter to see her grandparents. Like, is it though? I mean, she just got over being sick, which is why we couldn't make it to the last dinner. But whatever, let's ignore that. He goes on about how his parents are hurt and confused about why we're cutting them off. I'm pretty sure I made my stance clear, but I guess he needs a refresher. I reiterated that I don't want to be around people who treat me like crap, regardless of their relation to my husband. He suggests that this dinner would be a good opportunity to fix things. Oh, really? Because the last 10 opportunities to fix things went so well, right? The next day, I get a call from my mother-in-law. She's all upset about why we're avoiding family events. Like, did she really just ask that? She must think I'm an idiot to not know what she's talking about. She gets aggressive on the phone, blaming me for all the family's problems. I had to set a firm boundary about discussing our daughter's health. That's when I hung up on her. She has no right to talk about my daughter like that. Later, my husband confronts me about the call, saying I could have been nicer. I'm sorry, but where's the niceness from his family? We go back and forth about how his family is just trying to be involved. That's their idea of being involved. By being downright disrespectful? No thanks, I'm good. So we're talking about our wedding plans, and he brings up his parents' opinions on the guest list. He suggests I should consider their feelings since they're helping with the costs. I mean, they're basically using money as a form of control and manipulation. That's not cool, and I told him so. A few days later, he comes home all excited about a family wedding planned for next month. He tells me how his parents want us to attend and introduce our daughter to the extended family. Aw, isn't that sweet? Not. At dinner one night, he reveals he spoke to his parents about my boundaries. I can't even. So the wedding is the following weekend, and I've decided to stay home with our daughter. I know, shocker. My husband is going alone and promised to keep me updated. Of course he did. The next day he comes home late, looking like he just survived a zombie apocalypse. He tells me the family was disappointed that I didn't come. They wanted to have a conversation about family dynamics. Yeah, that sounds like a blast. A week later, he confronts me again about attending family gatherings. I stand firm, reiterating my boundaries. He accuses me of being unwilling to compromise. Is it a compromise to let people disrespect me in my own home? He leaves the room, saying he needs space to think. Like I haven't been thinking about this for the last 2 years. The next day, he tells me he's considering attending family events alone. I can't even believe this at this point. We eventually sit down to talk, but the conversation spirals into accusations. He declares he feels unsupported in his desire for a family connection. Oh, so now it's all on me, huh? He knows what his family is like, yet he wants me to just suck it up and deal with it. We don't even live close to them, so it's not like we're seeing them every day. But when we do see them, I have to feel like crap the whole time. No thanks. I told him he's free to go see them and do whatever he wants with them, but not with me. He gets all huffy and says that's not fair. Well, guess what? Life isn't fair, and neither are his parents. It's exhausting. He's starting to act like me not going to family events means I don't love him. Like, grow up. This is about more than just attending dinners. It's about self-respect and not letting people treat you like trash. I've been feeling really stuck lately. I don't want my husband to feel like he has to choose between me and his family, but I'm not going to be the one who gives in every time. If he wants a relationship with them, he can have it. But I refuse to be the punching bag every time they feel like taking a swing. I just want to figure out a way to deal with this without it ruining my marriage. I love my husband, but I also love myself. He needs to understand that. To answer a few questions, my husband and I have been married for 3 years and have been together for 5. He is aware of the issues with his family and has tried to address them before. We live in a different state from his parents, which helps reduce the frequency of interactions. My husband and I have a good relationship overall, but this issue has caused some strain. I'm considering couples therapy to help us navigate these challenges together. Am I the idiot for confronting my fiancé about his secret hotel stay with his ex? My fiancé and I have been together for 5 years and are getting married this spring. He and his ex were together for 8 years, and they share a daughter. While they were together, he also helped to raise her son from a past relationship. That bit of information isn't relevant, but for me, in the back of my mind, it always feels like he misses that little family that he had with her that he doesn't have with me. My fiancé and his ex also share a lot of the same friends, and my fiancé's best friend is actually his ex's brother-in-law. So we have that dynamic. He told me in the beginning or middle of summer that he was going to this music festival with his best friend and some other people, which I was fine with because he went to a music festival last year with his friends. The only thing that took me aback was that last year when he came back, he said that he wished I had come and that I should go with them next year. However, when he told me about this year's festival, he didn't mention anything about whether I wanted to come. I thought maybe it was because he wanted to spend time with his best friend. But even if that was the case, I knew there would be other people. Did he not think I would like the music? Which turns out, after looking at the lineup, one of my favorite bands is one of the headliners. But I brushed that off because the time of the music festival is when I start getting busy for work, so I probably couldn't have gone anyway. But now that it's the weekend of the festival, I'm not busy yet, so I could have definitely gone. So leading up to the festival, I'm asking him questions about it, where they are going to stay, what they are going to do, who's going with them, etc. He showed me one picture of the Airbnb they are staying at. He told me that the people who are going are him, his best friend, a couple that they are friends with, and maybe some other people, but he wasn't sure. I figured there might be more people going because the festival is only 3 hours away from the area where we live, so it wouldn't be that hard for more people to get up there for the festival. With that thought, I also wondered if his ex would go, since she enjoys that type of music that will be played at the festival. She is also in the same friend group, and her mom is always watching my fiancé and his ex's daughter on the weekends that she has her. Her son is old enough to watch himself. So the day comes that he is leaving for the festival, and I ask him again, "Who's all going with you guys, and how are you getting there if I'm dropping you off?" He said that it's still the same 4 people, him, his best friend, and the couple, and they are renting a van, which I thought was weird since they could all fit in a sedan if it's just 4 people. But whatever, he and I aren't paying for the van. So I drop him off at his friend's house before the van gets there, tell him goodbye, and I love you. The next day I was bored, and I'm a bit of a stalker, so I thought, oh, I'll waste some time and try to find the Airbnb that they're staying at, and I find it. The Airbnb has 5 bedrooms and can sleep 14 people, which I thought was really weird and unnecessary if only 4 people are going, and they only really need 3 bedrooms. So that confirms my suspicion that more than just those 4 went. But again, I brushed it off because maybe he didn't really know that more people were going. Then it wasn't long after that night that I saw his Snapchat that had his ex in the background. Now I don't know what to do, because he would have had to know that she was going. He would have had to talk to his ex and ask her to switch weekends with him because he was supposed to have his daughter this weekend. I guess what I'm most upset about is that he didn't tell me she was going. And even if he didn't think that it would be important to tell me, if the roles were reversed, I would hope that he would also be upset and uncomfortable if I went to a function that I knew one of my exes would be at. So I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should brush this off as well, or if I should confront him while he's there or when he gets back, or if I should just break up with him. If he had told me that she was going when he first told me about the festival, I think that I would have requested to go with him. Or if he didn't want me to go with him, then he can't go to the festival. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I would screenshot the ex in the background and send it to him with a message. You can pack your things when you get back. I will leave your ring on the counter. I hope lying to me was worth it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Then I would give him a few minutes to respond, and then, depending on the response, I would mute his number and go away somewhere for a few days. Lying by omission is still lying, and if everything was above board, he would not have felt the need to lie. Edit to add. I would also tell him that the fact he has his ex in his life because of his child means that trust in your relationship is paramount and that you have given that trust unwaveringly to him over the past 5 years. He has now destroyed that trust by his actions and omissions, and without trust, relationships are nothing. Comment 2. He has been lying to you. I would send him a very short message. Nice pictures from the music festival. I wonder why you forgot to mention your ex would be attending too? Oh well, at least it explains why you didn't want me to come. Do not answer him if he calls you, and do not respond to anything he sends you, and then think long and hard about whether this is the guy you want to marry. At least you found out before you got married. Now for the update. A week passed after the festival, and I was sitting at home, waiting for my fiancé to return. Honestly, I don't even know what I was feeling. I was just so sick of thinking about the festival Snapchat that had been stuck in my head on repeat. Like, I could literally see it in my mind. Him, with his stupid floppy hair, holding his drink, and there's his ex, just chilling in the background like she was invited there herself. It was like she had just casually strolled into their lives, and he never bothered to mention it. Not even a heads up like, oh, by the way, my ex is going to be there, but don't worry, it's just a coincidence. Nope, not a thing. So on the day he was supposed to come back, I had this plan. I was going to confront him about the ex being at the festival. I wasn't going to let it fester any longer because honestly, I was tired of feeling like I was crazy. He gets back, and I'm standing there like, hey, can we talk? It was so cheesy, but whatever. I brought it up, and he seemed genuinely surprised. I mean, come on. I called him out here. You have to at least pretend to know what I'm talking about. He claimed he didn't know she would be there. Yeah, right. Just a random coincidence that they both decided to go to the same event. He kept insisting that they didn't even hang out. I couldn't shake off that feeling that he was lying to me. I didn't want to be that girl, you know? The paranoid one who thinks her fiancé is cheating on her. But what was I supposed to think? During dinner, the whole vibe was just off. He was avoiding my gaze like I had a third eye, and I couldn't help but notice a new bracelet on his wrist. I asked him about it, and he just brushed it off as a gift from a friend. I wanted to press on it, but I also didn't want to look like a complete psycho. So I let it slide for the moment, but that suspicion was still lurking in the back of my mind. A few days later, I went to a birthday party for one of our mutual friends. Now this was supposed to be a fun night, but then I overheard a conversation about his ex. Apparently, they were getting close again at the festival. What the actual hell? I excused myself to the bathroom to collect my thoughts because I could feel myself spiraling. When I returned to the party, there he was, laughing with a group that included his ex. I was done with this. I had to get answers. I walked over, and he introduced me to the group but didn't mention her. It was such an awkward moment. His ex looked at me and smirked. Like, what kind of game is this? I could feel my blood boiling. After a few drinks, I decided to leave the party early because I was not going to be the person who caused a scene. When we got home, I confronted him again about the ex. He got all defensive and said I was being paranoid again. Ugh. It escalated, and he stormed off to the bedroom like a child. I was so over this, like, what would it take for him to be honest? I started searching through his things, trying to find any clues. I stumbled upon a receipt for a hotel near the festival with his name on it. The date, the night he was there. I was furious. I confronted him with the receipt the next morning. He claimed it was just a booking for a friend who never used it. Yeah, right. I wasn't buying it. I decided to investigate further. I contacted the hotel under the guise of needing a reservation. I was sweating bullets, hoping I wasn't going to get caught in a lie. The hotel confirmed that he checked in with his ex for one night. I was livid. I couldn't believe it. I decided to confront his ex directly. I found her number through social media and sent her a message. She responded, claiming it was just a night of catching up. Yeah, okay. I planned a dinner and invited him to sit down for a serious talk. When he arrived, I presented the hotel receipt and the ex's message. He looked shocked and tried to deny everything. But I had it. I told him I was moving out for a while. I needed space to think because I couldn't do this anymore. I packed my things while he pleaded for me to stay. It was honestly so pathetic. As a final act, I left the bracelet behind as a parting gift. Mini update, after I left, he bombarded me with calls and texts, but I ignored them all. I went to stay with my sister, who quickly caught on to the details. She was supportive, but she also encouraged me to reconsider giving him another chance. I was unsure, as he had been a good partner otherwise, but I felt so betrayed. Eventually, he came to my sister's place to talk, and I agreed to hear him out. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.